Every day of my life, I approach it with a state of empathy, right? Regardless of what color, what creed, what race you are, I look at people as human beings. I think that's important. But life is always about taking a stand and holding principles. So I want to explain what I feel like my stance is as a black male in this world, okay? And conversations that I've had with my brothers and sisters in the black community. And I want you guys to empathize with it and hear me on it. So when I hear what Kyrie Irving has to go through in order to be reinstated, I'm appalled. I'm appalled. And let me give you examples of how I feel like we don't have the same energy and hold other people who have dealt with racial tropes accountable. So when Sarah Silverman does blackface, or when Don Imus says nappy-headed hose, or when Howard Stern calls somebody the N-word in the skit, or when Brett Favre takes money from the state of Mississippi, we don't ask them to get sensitivity training. We don't ask them to donate $500,000. We don't ask them to meet with the Black National Caucus. They apologize. And then, you know what? The rest of the world moves on. But what I feel like is happening here, and that's how in the black community, like we've been told that's how the process works, right? Think about that, Bert. That's how the process works. Oh, somebody does a blackface. Oh, it was a misunderstanding. We got it. Okay. You know, is that person really racist? Probably not. Was it ignorant? Probably so. Okay. We understand it. We move forward. We don't like it. We would love to hold them accountable. But society and having a lot of black people in positions of power, we don't have the governability to do that. But what we feel like happens with Kyrie is even after an apology, it's not enough. We feel like there needs to be more. And a lot of people I've spoken to over the last couple of days talk about this thing. Older mentors of mine talk about buck breaking. So we talk about tropes. This is something that we feel like in the black community that happened way back in the day, where if there was a slave that was defiant, right, he got broken in front of everybody in order to show that he was not in a position of power. And that at the end of the day, he had to do what he was told to do because that's what was mandated of him. And there's a bigger situation going on. What's happening with Kyrie Irving? If the Nets don't want him to be there, just say you don't want him to be there. But we should hold everybody accountable, even owners of teams accountable with things that are happening in other countries, i.e. China and Uyghurs and the Muslim genocide that is occurring, that we hear Enes Kanter talk about. But we don't keep the same energy for everybody. We pick and choose what conversational points we want to make more polarizing. And I might lose my job. I might lose deal opportunities in the future for speaking out about even the platforms that continue to promote and profit a movie that is considered anti-Semitic to billions of people. They don't have to be accountable. Who is accountable? But we're going to put everything on the shoulders of Kyrie Irving, who, even though he said, I cannot be anti-Semitic because if I know where I came from, stating that he's one of the 4 lost tribes. He's saying that blacks and Jews come from the same entity, the same thing. But we don't want to understand nuance. We want to be triggered by words. And we like fire. And we like things that are, going viral on social media. And everybody has some kind of hot take. And we're calling people idiots. And we're calling people names because that's what we do. We just destroy each other. I ain't going to destroy each other, man. I'm not going to do that. Is Kyrie Irving anti-Semitic? Hell no. Could he have gone about it maybe a different way? That's what I would have advised him to do. But I'm not going to let you guys sit out here and make this dude out to be like he is a villain, like he is a bad person. He is looking to explore his heritage. Now, you can crucify me if you want. I don't give a damn anymore. It's time for people to start speaking out with nuance and speaking out on the principles they stand for.
I 1000% agree with Jaylen Brown. I stand with him. And I know that's saying a lot because we know how critical I can be and have been of Kyrie Irving. But this is excessive. The fact of the matter is that right now you're engaging in emasculation. based on the reports about how the Nets have a checklist of things that they need Kyrie Irving to do. Okay, now be clear, Tim Legler. He brought it on himself. I'm fully knowledgeable about that. Him putting out a tweet, supporting a film with anti-Semitic tropes and stuff like that was inexcusable. It was insensitive. It was juvenile. It was stupid. Okay? And the kind of heat that he's brought upon himself thus far is self-inflicted and largely, if not entirely, of his own volition. So he deserves it. But now you're going a step too far. Okay? The man apologized. All right? He's been suspended. And that. Now you as an organization have to make it. Do you want him on your team? Do you keep him on the rest of the year? Or you can elect to let him go while making him sit home and you have to pay him unless you trade him. It's that simple. But to sit up there and to have these lists of conditions that he has to do, I think what you're trying to do is elevate the level of embarrassment that is being thrown in his direction and, dare I say, emasculate him, which is why Jaylen Brown has spoken up, which is why black people are going to raise holy hell about that, and which is why I'm going to be one of those folks leading the chorus to raise holy hell about that. Leave a man alone. Keep him on the team or let him go. Suspend him, bring him back. But when you start talking about, well, he needs training and all of that, wait a minute now. The fact of the matter is he apologized. He acknowledged, albeit a bit too late as far as I'm concerned, he still apologized, acknowledged that he's not anti-Semitic, okay, that he made a mistake in putting the film out there, okay. Of course, when the owner reaches out to you, you should respect this man that's paying you and reach back out to him. Of course, Joe Tsai should demand, we have to meet and have a conversation before I let you back on his team. That is reasonable. That is understandable. But to then try to articulate that he needs to go through sensitivity training and all of this other stuff, now you really digging it in. It's unnecessary. It's uncalled for. If the Anti-Defamation League wants to raise holy hell about that, and they want that, and they request that of Kyrie Irving, that's between them and Kyrie Irving. Last time I recall, Josiah is not Jewish. Josiah is an owner for the Brooklyn Nets. You want him on the team or you don't. But to sit there and highlight and articulate these processes that he must go through, it seems to be a bit pouring on. I don't appreciate it. I don't like it. It's a bit excessive. And that's what I wanted to say about it. Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, all right. Well, first, listen, there's a lot of layers to this story, right? So let's start with the Jaylen Brown comments. I completely agree with you, Stephen A. When you look at the list.
Point. There's no disagreement between you and I in that regard. What I'm saying is that now it comes down to you trying to emasculate him because of the decisions that he's made and because of how he handled it. My point is, let him go. Cut him, send him home and say you'll pay him for the rest of the season, or let him come back, as opposed to putting it on Front Street in a completely, entirely different situation. One of the things that I kept harping on when it pertained to Ime Udoka in Boston was that it was an HR matter that should have been handled internally as opposed to publicized. You see what I'm saying? Because that public emasculation is what I have a problem with, because we can go throughout history in the NBA, in the National Football League, along with a plethora of other situations where we don't see the same level of momentum, the same level of passion, etc., being accorded to others in dicey situations as we've seen accorded to these black men. And what I'm saying is, although Kyrie is not right in any way, he is definitely wrong. I am not here to defend what he did, because he was wrong, and his reluctance and hesitancy in apologizing was wrong, and his unwillingness to communicate with Joe Tsai, the nerve of you to do that. But that's a perfect reason to say, stay your behind home. Don't bother coming back. To have these conditions and to publicize those conditions, not only are you trying to appease to outside forces, but you are also doing it while emasculating this black man. I don't like that. I don't appreciate that, because I can point to numerous cases throughout history where that level of momentum is not consistent. If you do it to everybody, I'm good. But when you highlight it for certain people, that's when I have a problem with it. And that is why I'm standing up here now saying they're crossing the line with how they publicized the conditions, the remedial conditions under which they want Kyrie